I guess I have to move this closer. Alright then. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. So today we're going over part 2 on how you can improve your pilot gameplay. We're actually going to be joined by a good friend of mine. His name is Kid Heinz. He is definitely an amazing pilot, most certainly better than me. So we're going to go have a discussion with him. Hopefully we can cover even more how you can improve your gameplay. So let's go see if we can get him into the party and yeah, alright. See you then. Yo, what's going on? Hello, I am with Kid Heinz right now. Say hello.
Hi everyone.
Hello. All right, so what we got here? We have Eden. It's a nice map. I think it's a, it's an all right map for some air strafing and slide hops. What do you say?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no. Eden's one of the maps that I frequently practice my movement on because of the monorail and everything like that.
All right.
And spawn transitions, and it's a pretty dynamic map.
It is. All right, so we need to clear up what the kind of people in Titanfall. So obviously you have the beginner level people, and then above that you have the intermediate level people, and then you have the good above average people, and then you have the comp players, the hyper advanced people. So where would you think a large majority of the Titanfall players fall into into those categories?
Where do I think I fit into that?
No, a majority of Titanfall players fit into that category.
Right at intermediate. I think most Titanfall players sit right at intermediate because this game's skill floor, as compared to Titanfall 1, this game's skill floor got a lot lower. They did a really good job of making the game accessible to a lot of players when they made the game. And so I think because of that, you know, the 90%, I guess now in Titanfall 2 it's more of the 98% because of how low the population is. But I think most of the players would fall somewhere in between beginner and intermediate, just because this game is so accommodating for new and inexperienced players, especially in a game like this where the skill gap can't be so high, but at the same time they allowed newer players to get a good grasp on the game early.
Alrighty. Now, those intermediate players, in your opinion, where do you how many average how often do you think they average like 10 to 15 kills? Like, would you say that's a nice average for intermediate player to get per game?
Yeah, for sure. 10 to 15 is actually, I mean, I think once you start pushing 15, I actually start looking at that player, or I will have noticed that player if they hit 15. So I think the average is closer to 10 than it is to 15, but yeah, you know, right around that ballpark for sure.
All right. That's where a large majority of people seem to be at. Where do you, like, now, the point of this video now is to help people get out of that 10 to 15 average kill game, because people, it's no lie, people go into streams like such as yours or streams such as mine, and they see us pulling off 40, 50 kill games, and they want to be like, how do I get there? So, like, what would you be like? What would you say is a good start for people to get to that point? It doesn't happen overnight. So
something that I always oh, actually, let me answer this question a little bit differently, and this is something that comes up in my, or it used to come up in my stream fairly often. People used to ask me more often, or people used to ask me very often about my aim. And maybe my map awareness and maybe my transitions, and I thought, no, like, that's not the first thing you should be thinking of in Titanfall 2. It's not wrong, but Titanfall 2, or even, you know, Titanfall 1, just the way this game is built, the best thing you can do for yourself, the best skill you can learn to improve and get yourself up out of a lower skill bracket, is to learn the movement, for sure.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, in the most basic ways that you can, which is just, you know, simple slide hopping and, you know, the first steps that a lot of the, you know, more popular YouTubers and content creators for Titanfall have made videos on. The movement in Titanfall 2 is by far the biggest the biggest indicator of skill in this game, at least.
Absolutely.
And so I think,
Absolutely.
okay. Well, I think that is the best way to get your foot in the door in terms of increasing your skill in this game, is by at least getting yourself acquainted with the movement.
All right. And now the thing is, that's what all the content creators have been saying. You gotta learn the movement system, and like the odds of a Titanfall player not. Everyone has probably heard in their lifetime. Every Titanfall player has probably heard you have to learn the movement system, and what I have trouble understanding is how people don't understand that though. So like, what do you think is probably deterring them from learning it? Do you think people think it's difficult or something, perhaps?
I think at first glance, the movement can be intimidating, especially if you were, watching somebody like, Game Sage or Frothy Omen or Iniquity. I think getting to the point that they're at, as far as, the viewer watching a content creator, from point A, which is where they're at, and point B, where the content creators are, I think that's intimidating.
Yeah.
And that's one reason, and I think that's the main reason, honestly. Actually, no. The main reason, I believe, is because it's a lot more comfortable. Titanfall 2 is likely not the first first-person shooter that a player has played.
Absolutely.
And in all those other games, you don't have something like this. There's not something as in-depth as Titanfall 2's movement system, and I think because of that, people are already accommodated, or people are already acquainted with typical boots on the ground, run around, pick up an AR, or the gun that gives you the best chance to win, and play that way, because it's comfortable. And why fix something that's not broken?
Yeah.
And for some people it works, and actually for most people it works, and that's why I think people don't tend to reach out and learn that movement system, because for them it's not necessary.
So, all right, that sounds like a pretty reasonable explanation. So, like, what would you recommend to people who might have a fear of this movement system? Might you say? Because like,
I don't know. I've had a couple of opportunities to answer that question, and I've never been able to give it a clear answer. I think there's a lot of things that can kind of shake up your mindset when it comes to first-person shooters, as far as experimenting with Titanfall 2 goes. One thing that I like to do is basically force myself to play in an uncomfortable way, force myself to play in a way that I'm not used to, whether or not it's better or worse. Basically, just diversify my gameplay. And in Titanfall 2, a great way to do that is by using SMGs.
oh yeah.
Using SMGs is gonna, or shotguns also, but shotguns aren't really as effective for somebody who's less experienced.
Yeah.
That'd be a good start. We'll leave it at that.
I
for
would
now.
say also another thing to probably get over your fear of the movement system is to go into a private matches. I keep on telling people private matches are your best friend. Would you agree? For practicing stuff like this?
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Like you're in an environment where no one's judging you. Your KD is not getting hurt. There's literally no point to not go around into the movement. I mean, go around into the what's it called? The private match system, and just go around and have fun. No point in not doing that.
Exactly. I mean, putting yourself in a stress-free environment is absolutely. I mean, it's a lot healthier than putting on a gun that you're not familiar with and just rushing into an enemy spawn and getting frustrated.
Yeah.
I do understand that. That's just one way that I learn. But no, I agree. Going into a private match, and this is something that I do, or that I used to do a lot when I practiced frequently and actually focused on upping skills. Private match 1 and the gauntlet for another. The gauntlet is more specifically just for learning movement. If you want to experiment with some stuff and really test out a variety of things, a private match is where you want to go. But if you're trying to improve your movement in a stress-free environment, the only thing that's over your shoulder is a clock, and that's not all that stressful.
We seem to be in obviously for games like Call of Duty, Halo not so much, but Call of Duty has basically told us that the only way to be as accurate as possible is to ADS, and so essentially because of that, and a large majority of people who play Titanfall, they're coming from Call of Duty, so they come into this game thinking that they're only supposed to ADS to be as accurate. And how do you feel about that? Like, do you think people could get away with only...
Couldn't disagree more.
Exactly.
I don't know, if anybody from your channel has watched my streams, and anybody on my channel who has definitely watched my streams, you'll know that I ADS a good 90% of the time. I mean, at least 90. I would say at least 90% of the time I use hipfire.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, what?
Yeah, no, I did not mean to say
yeah,
yes.
You hipfire good. Yeah, that's a good rational amount in my opinion. Now, me obviously, I don't ADS the car, but that's because I have a slight dysfunction with loving car hipfire. But yeah, I think 90% is it's a good amount for only hipfiring.
Yeah, and the reason, I don't know, hipfire in this game is obviously just kind of an inexplicable thing. It's just better. The recoil patterns in this game are very easy to control. You know, if you invest some time into learning them, it's not difficult to learn. And also, aiming down the sights is just an extra step and takes a little bit, you know, a microscopic amount of time, but more time. It reduces your field of view. And I don't prefer it over hipfire because of those things. But let me make a note. There is a time and place to use ADS.
Absolutely.
And in my case, I only use ADS when my clip is low and I need to hit those shots. I have to hit those shots. Or when I'm falling down, you know, when I'm in the air and I've already used my double jump and I'm falling, it's a little bit more difficult to hit those shots because you're not quite in control of your character. So I typically use ADS in those situations. But generally speaking, I think it's extremely healthy and very skill oriented to learn how to use hipfire, especially in a game that is so forgiving with it. Titanfall 2's hipfire is very forgiving.
Absolutely. Hey, what's going on, guys? So I hope you all enjoyed the video. This is going to be the first part of a two-part actually upload. We just went into so deep of a conversation about how to be good at Titanfall that we just went on for like three more games in total, about just how to be good at Titanfall. And so I might just actually upload those next two games some other time. Just to help make this video not too long. So we're gonna cut it off here, and I will hopefully upload the next part soon enough. To learn more, be sure to join that Discord link down in the description below, so that way you can stay up to date with what's going on in the upload schedule. I appreciate you all coming to hang out, and yeah, I'll see you all next time. Later. Peace.